My first Amazon FBA product failed miserably. If you want to avoid this from happening to you, you need to watch this. Hey guys, welcome to today's video. If you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Myles, and I'm a 7-figure-a-year Amazon FBA private label seller. So if you're interested in learning about FBA, the business model, how it works, make sure to subscribe to the channel right now, like the videos, leave any comments with any questions you have because I read them all. So now that I've done this for myself, my purpose here is to help you along your own FBA journey. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about the story of my first product, which failed miserably. So this is like the side of FBA that you probably don't hear about that often, but it's really important because normally we learn from failures, not from the things that we do right. So I want to tell you about my first product. I want to tell you what it was, how I picked it or why I picked it, how it failed, what went wrong, and then exactly what I learned from that to be able to then still recover, move forwards, and actually build like a 7-figure business. And I want to tell you all these things because, I mean, ideally you can learn from my mistakes rather than having to learn these for yourself. And having gone through this now quite a few times, it sort of becomes obvious that there are these same things that will just repeat time and time again for people who are just starting. So just to give you a bit of context, when I was first starting, I decided to give it a go. I'd committed to trying Amazon FBA, but I was really skeptical and I had pretty low expectations as a result. But I recognized the importance of just learning and seeing how things go. So I actually committed to doing 3 products at once, and this was the first one. And by the way, if you have the money, having a few products going at once and trying different things with each one is a fantastic way of learning. I know that that's not possible for a lot of people because it requires twice or 3 times as much money, but if you can do it, I do recommend it. So there's a simple process to get your first Amazon FBA private label product selling profitably. And that process is firstly your product research. So you have to find a product that you want to sell. Secondly, you have to source the product from a supplier. So you need to find a supplier who can manufacture that product for you, do any customizations you want, etc. Thirdly, you need to, after you've made the product, you need to ship it into Amazon. Then you need to do the Amazon listing optimization. So that's creating the product listing that's actually going to sell your product to customers. Then finally, what you need to do is you need to launch your product. So that's getting Amazon's search algorithm, recognizing that your product is worthwhile selling to customers. So I'm going to run you through what I did for each step in that process, how I failed, what I did wrong, and therefore what you can do right by doing the opposite of what I did. So first of all, what was the product? It was a magnetic like wall organizer. Put a photo here. Basically came in a bunch of different colors, like cheap Chinese plastic with magnets on the back, so you could stick it on any magnetic surface like a fridge or a microwave or something like that. Basically just with some compartments in it to organize your house a little bit better. So what did I do to find this product through my product research? Basically not very much. There are lots of different ways of finding products to sell on Amazon, and they all kind of work as long as you can do the numbers and make sure that you meet certain criteria. So in this case, I just saw something that I had in my house. It wasn't the exact same product, but it was pretty similar. And so then I had that idea in my head and I started looking on Amazon for similar products like that. And that's how I came across this product. Now, what I didn't really check, or what I didn't really make sure of, was market demand. So there was somebody selling this on Amazon. There was one person selling this. There were a couple of people who were trying to sell it, but they were getting no sales. And there was one other seller who was actually selling a little bit. And they had very few reviews. I think at the time it would have been, I don't know, maybe 30 reviews, something like that. So the problem with this product was that the niche, being wall organizers and keywords like that, that niche was doing okay. There was demand, there were lots of different products and lots of different sellers making good sales. But this specific product was quite different to the rest. So it was like different colors, different style, different functionality, and the magnetic thing as well was a bit different. And I kind of recognized that therefore it was a kind of different product, but it was really hard to find keywords that were really specific for this particular product. And actually, in hindsight, the reason was that it was so hard to find these keywords because they didn't exist. The product just didn't really have much demand. I didn't really make that connection, so I thought wall organizers selling well, therefore this product should sell okay. So that was mistake number 1, was just going into this, A, not starting with the numbers, and then B, not really recognizing how much the numbers matter. And so just to clarify, by that I mean that your specific product that you're looking at should have if there's only one seller selling it, that seller has to be doing really well, and they have to have a terrible listing or something where you can come in and do better than them. But ideally you've got like a number of sellers selling the same product. Watch out for things that are different colors, different styles, or different functionality, because those things can make a really big difference to how much a customer wants to buy your specific product. So I picked this product that only one seller was selling. There were a few other people not selling but trying to sell. And then I went to try and find a supplier for this. And this was where I messed up again, because I couldn't really find a good supplier. So I found there was only one supplier who would supply, who I could find, who had that same product, the one that I was targeting, the one that I wanted to get. Now the issue was that they didn't have the right colors. I didn't notice at the time, so the seller was selling only one color, and it was white. And this supplier, the only one that I could find, their price was pretty high. I think it was like $2 something per unit, and it was kind of bulky, you know, it didn't really pack up that small, so it was going to be expensive to ship. And with those numbers, based on what the seller was selling them at, there just wasn't that much profit. But this was the only supplier I could find, and they had the wrong colors. And so not only did I have only one seller selling the same product, which means, you know, like that I didn't know how much demand there really was, but I also couldn't get those right colors that I wanted, being the white color. So I ended up getting these, not the ones that I showed you in the picture before, but just like these like ugly, kind of probably Asian style, like bright colors, which really don't look good in a kitchen. But that was all I could get. And at this point, I really should have made the hard decision to stop. Honestly, right then, when I couldn't find the right product that I wanted, it didn't have that much demand anyway, and you know, it was just kind of getting worse a little bit, but I pushed on anyway. I went ahead with the supplier, and so I got samples. Great, always get samples, because it's the only way that you can know personally by handling these goods whether your supplier is good, and ideally you can compare between different suppliers. But I only had the one supplier, so I only got the one sample. And mistake number 3, the samples weren't good quality. They were really bad quality. It wasn't that they arrived damaged or anything, they were just cheap plastic, and the magnets weren't very strong, and they just didn't really work very well. And again, you know, there's not much to this here. This is where I should have stopped. I should have gone, well, I can't find a good supplier, so therefore, you know, this isn't a product worth pursuing. If there's no supplier who can supply good quality, don't do it. But I pushed on again. I thought, well, you know, who knows? Maybe customers won't care. But here's the thing, Amazon is all about reviews, or at least reviews are a huge factor in how well your product sells, how well it converts customers into buyers. And if your customers aren't happy because the product quality is bad, unless you're just in a niche where every single product has really bad quality and therefore has really bad reviews, unless that's the case, if your product is bad quality, expect that you're going to get bad reviews. And as you get bad reviews, not only does your conversion rate go down, but actually customers are more likely to leave more bad reviews when you already have bad reviews. And so you can create this downward spiral if your product isn't good quality. And this isn't the only product this has happened to me with, by the way, so I'm speaking from experience here, but this product definitely was the first problem that I had with product quality issues. So long story short, always get a sample, test it, and think about how a customer would be using it and how they would like it, honestly. Think about it honestly, and if the answer is that they wouldn't like it, then you're going to suffer, your listing is going to suffer, and you're just going to be fighting this uphill battle that will never change. So do it right from the start, get a quality supplier that can produce quality goods. So then the next part of the process is shipping, and I actually didn't do this too bad. I shipped all of the units by Air Express. It was like 300 units to start off with, and I did do a second order actually, which I think was about 300 units again. Ideally, because it was a bit bigger, this product, I should have been shipping it by sea, but I was sort of stuck because to ship sea, you need a certain amount of units or a certain amount of volume to make it worthwhile, because there are fixed costs associated with each shipment. So basically, if you've got less than, I think it's like 1 to 2 cubic meters, it's normally not worthwhile. But I couldn't ship that many units because there wasn't that much demand. So again, I was stuck from the start, and I wasn't able to ship by sea, which would have saved me lots of money and made the product, you know, quite a lot more profitable. So takeaways for you then: know your product from the start. Know that if it's a bigger product, a bulkier product, or maybe a heavier one that you can't ship by air profitably, then you're going to need to use sea shipping, which is fine. But sea shipping is going to require larger volumes. It also requires a lot more cash because it takes so long to ship that you basically need to ship more at once. So be aware of those things. So the next thing then is the actual Amazon product listing. So I messed up pretty bad here. The copy is okay. Like, I'm a decent copywriter. I'm going to put out a video about how to really make like a really awesome Amazon listing, which I've learned how to do now, but in this case I didn't know how to do it. And what let me down was the product photography. So I decided to do this myself. I'm a bit of an amateur photography and an enthusiast, so I thought I could do this pretty well. And I was wrong. Guys, listing images are so important, especially the main one, that one that people see when they're just scrolling through the search results before they've clicked through to your listing. So important to get done professionally. If you're not a professional and you can't do this right, please pay the money to get it done by somebody who can, because it will pay off. And if you do it yourself like I did, and you can't really produce like a top-notch result, people are just going to see your listing, and again, unless you are lucky enough to be in a really uncompetitive niche where there's just nobody else doing this correctly, customers are just not going to want to buy your product, and your conversion rates are going to be low and your product will suffer. So I talk about the 80-20, which is really focusing on the things that matter, particularly product images, and I also talk about investing in quality, so getting things done right from the start because it pays off quickly. And those are two lessons that I learned from this product, because in both cases, specifically with the photography, I didn't do this. So my images just weren't good enough. I couldn't get the right lifestyle images, I couldn't get like a nice background, even, you know, like great lighting, things like that. They all add up and I couldn't produce the right result. So I was missing a key part of an ideal Amazon listing. So I had poor product photography, and as well, like I talked about before, I knew that the product quality was bad, and yet I pushed through and the reviews came back quite negative. And definitely if you drop past like a 4-star rating, if you get down into that 3.5, where it's 3.5 out of 5 stars, you'll see your conversion rate go down. So I was lacking good photos and I had poor reviews. So I had the product for sale and it wasn't going. So not only that, but I didn't launch the product. So I've learned from cases like this and others that you have to do something to get your product showing up in those search results. If you don't, it starts down at like page 30 or somewhere like that. Now, in this case, I had something going for me because the niche for these like very, very specific few keywords that would actually apply to this product, there were so few and so few people selling that at least for those, like, it was like 3 keywords I could show up pretty quickly. But if I'd done this right, I would have had so many more keywords to choose from, and I would have been able to pick a few primary keywords and do something to get that product ranking for those primary keywords. So when I say primary, I mean there's a lot of people looking for that keyword, and there's therefore a lot of people looking for that product. In this case, I didn't even have that, so I don't actually know how I would have launched it. So I did use PPC, which, by the way, normally I do launch just using PPC, but you still have to do it deliberately. You have to pick the keywords that you want to rank for and then bid high and bid large amounts so that you are basically paying more than anyone else to get to the top. And it's expensive, but it does work over time. But in this case, I had no idea what I was doing. So I think the only reason why I ended up actually ranking for those keywords was almost by chance, because I just turned PPC on. But even though that was up there, so there was just such little volume that there weren't many people looking at the keywords, and therefore not many people looking at my product. But not only that, but with all the issues that I've talked about before, the reviews were poor because the product quality was poor, and you know, like I couldn't make a competitive price because I was paying too much for shipping, and I paid too much for the products in the first place, and I was just stuck, getting very few sales. Now you, having just heard all of this, you can understand why I was stuck getting few sales, and you can probably understand that I was feeling, at the time, very frustrated. Now here's the thing, most people with products that aren't doing very well, they get to this stage, which is where you've got the product selling, you've done everything already, and you're just not getting the results that you want. And then you start asking the question, like, well, how do I fix this? How do I make this better? And I don't know if you can tell already, but in this case, there's nothing that I could really do to make this product work. Like, I stuffed up from the start by getting into a niche that just didn't have demand. So even if, you know, say I'd gone and got professional photos done, and so I'd been able to improve that main list image, there weren't enough people looking at the product. It was a different type to what, you know, the most popular products in the niche were, and I already had all of these bad reviews accumulated. There are other things you can do, like if you have a serious product flaw that's leading to those bad reviews, and you're able to fix that with your supplier, you can create a new ASIN, which then wipes all of the bad reviews, but you're starting from zero again. So that product has to go through the launch process, it needs to accumulate those reviews, it needs to rank, you need to do everything from zero again. And all of this is going to take time, and it's going to take money. And maybe you don't have much more money, or maybe you don't have much more time. So it's so important to get these things right from the start. So having learned all of these things the hard way, how did I actually do? How did this product go? Obviously, you know, I've said it's failed miserably, and I'm no longer selling it. But, you know, what was the real cost of this? And actually, it's been a while, so I haven't looked at the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure I made about $20 in profit from this product. So that was over 2 orders, over a total investment of, it was about $2.5, maybe close to $3,000. But I'm just gonna say that again, I made $20 in profit. So after a lot of doom and gloom and talking about how I failed, at the end of the day, the worst case normally isn't that bad. And this was my first failed product, but I've had 2 others that I've dropped as well. And in both cases, I still made money. I've never actually lost money on a product. And this sort of, I can corroborate this story with other people who sell as well, is that normally that worst case scenario really isn't that bad. So take this to heart, that even if you make these mistakes, you'll probably get your money back. It's just that it takes a while. And so yeah, while I wish that I'd been able to skip that part of the process, in a lot of ways this product really wasn't a failure for me, because I learned all of these valuable lessons, and I learned them pretty quickly. And at the end of the day, I made the $20, I didn't lose money, and now I know what not to do. And so by doing the opposite of all of these things that I've just described to you, I've been able to launch, another 30, I have 35 now in total. This one failed, and I've had 2 others that I've dropped as well. But by and large, they've all made money, and some of them have made me a lot of money. Okay guys, that's the story of my first Amazon FBA product, what it was, why it failed, and exactly what I did wrong. So I hope you can learn from my mistakes and avoid these with your own Amazon FBA product. And thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.